Good morning, students. We have already started to study about Russian Revolution. Again, you may think why Sir has written Russian Revolution. Previously, we had been to the background. Today, we are entering into the real action that is taking place. Okay. Now, let's see. Russian Revolution that we understand is the fall of monarchy in the month of February in 1917, and the events of October are called the Russian Revolution. In the month of October, there are events of changing the government, execution of the king, and taking over the government in Russia. All those events are called Russian Revolution. You know, no event take place within a fraction of a second. There are so many things behind that, before that. So the culmination of all those events are put together. It will be called the revolution. So now Tsar Nicholas II, he ruled Russia or started to rule Russia in the year 1914 from his father Nicholas I. So his period, so Tsar Nicholas II, his administrative time is the period of revolution of Russia or change of governmental system in Russia. You know, present Russia. You will see first the map of Russia of that time. How much big and which are the areas Russia was ruled. See this. You know, there's Ural Mountains that is dividing Asia and Europe. Here comes around the series. Ural Mountains are divided. You see Kazakhstan. Here you can see Finland. Here is St. Petersburg, Moscow, Ukraine. All these areas were Georgia. These were part of Russian. Here you can see the areas of Iran and Iraq, Persia. You know, present Iran, Iraq. All those areas were ruled by Ottoman Turks during this time. There is a country named Ottoman Turkey. It was ruled by a dynasty named Ottoman. So that's Ottoman Turks, they were ruling this. So all these areas, so this Siberian desert area, all these areas were in the hands of a Russian Empire. This is Ural Mountain that divided. So this area is Asian part, this area is a European part. You know, Russia is the largest country in the world. But population wise it is not. Because this is a Siberian desert area, people cannot live in that. Very less number of people are living in that. Large land areas. The temperature goes to minus 50 degrees, 60 degrees. All those things. There are some places in Siberian desert. So such area people cannot live. There are people, still people are living there, some are there. So that is this Russia you can see. This is Asia. Okay. Another still more clear, this Ottoman Empire. This is all Russian areas ruled by Russian India. Finland, Scandinavian, Sweden, all these areas. They are called Scandinavian countries. Finland is, you know, Finland is one of the developed, you can say, educational, socially developed countries, Finland. So Sweden, Finland, Denmark, all those areas come in this area. This is Russian Empire for your Middle East, all the Central Asia, Afghanistan, all those areas. There comes China also. So the majority religion was Russian Orthodox Christianity. The people who believed in Russian Orthodox religious group, they were Christians. But in Christianity also there were so many divisions, you must understand. So there was one group of people who lived in Russia, they were called Russian Orthodox. Means Orthodox meaning those who traditionally kept all the rules and regulations as it is, who are not ready to change. So that they are, which had grown out of the Greek Orthodox Church. You know, Greek people were there. Greek is the cradle of European civilization that we are studied in when we are studying about Russian Revolution, French Revolution. We will study further about it. But the empire also included Catholics. The Catholics is a group of people who accept Pope. Orthodox, they don't accept Pope, they have their religious way, but both agree with the ideology of Christ. That is a speciality. They agree with the ideology of Christ. That's the group. So empire also included Catholics, Protestants. Protestants means group of people who protested against Christian way of life or Christian ideology or the activities that were done by Catholics who were not ready to accept Pope. They were called Protestants. Then there were some Muslims and there were Buddhists also in Russia of that time. It is of Russia. Okay. The economy and society. See, in any society, the people should be happy. For that, they need money for their day-to-day necessities, and they should have a social relationship. How the society treats other members of the society. If there is a class divisions or caste divisions or social divisions, naturally one section of the society will be every time mentally unhappy. Outside they may be try to be happy, but they can never be happy from inside. So when social divisions. So that is why we are going to discuss about the social or society of it. 85% of population are living from agriculture. So you must understand, Russian population is 85%. This is in the beginning of 20th century we are discussing. So 85% of the population in Russia, they depended on agriculture. You know, Russia is a vast and wide country. Naturally, plenty of area was there for agriculture, and 85% of the total population depended on agriculture. In India, also it has gone down to 50%. Now it is said to be around 40% of Indian population still depend on agriculture. So that is, this was higher than the most of European countries at that time. In France, 40% of people are already depending on agriculture. Now around 20% of people are depending on agriculture. And Germany, 50% of people already depend on agriculture. So when 40 and 50 was the average rate of other European countries, in Russia it was 85%. Means you might have studied about a little bit unemployment. So there is unemployment, plenty of unemployment. People, those overcrowding will be there in the agricultural sector. More population that is required. It will be working in the agriculture sector. So per head earning will be very less. Cultivators produced for the markets also, since Russia was the major exporter of grain. They could produce materials, we do agriculture to sell also. So when we want to sell naturally, that is more will be produced. If we are producing something only to eat, we produce whatever we need. When we produce something to sell, we concerned with the markets or think about the markets and where we can sell the product. So the Russians used to do that. They used to produce materials to sell. That is speciality of the Russians. Prominent industrial areas were set up in St. Petersburg. You might have seen in the map, St. Petersburg, okay, and Moscow. If you want to see, you must go back and see. Here, Moscow is here, St. Petersburg is here. This is Moscow and St. Petersburg. Okay, so that is a place. So, most prominent industrial areas were set up at St. Petersburg and Moscow. So that is the most developed present, the capital of Russia is Moscow. Craftsmen undertook much of the production. Large factories also existed. Local fellows who used to make the materials. Local factories in village. They were mostly built. We have studied last year. You have studied about the sword making in South India. Tipu Sultan sword and so. So there were small units in the village, and each unit was making materials whatever is needed for the village. So same way, the craftsmen who used to make small materials, large scale industries were not there at that time. So each group areas for sports craftsmen were there. He used to make a table, chairs, tables, or wooden materials, and iron also. Metal workers were there. They were making small things, whatever is needed for the people. Large scale factories were not there. But here and there, some factories have come up in Russia. By the 90s, means beginning of the 20th century, factory workers and craftsmen were almost equal in number. So now factories are coming up. They are increasing. Now all over the world we know each small craftsman will have no much job. Most of the areas are taken up by big factories. Whatever we need is produced by big factories. This stick I want, big factories are producing. Your chairs that are there, your tables that are there, all are produced by big factories. Local craftsmen have very less job nowadays. That's the situation. Many factories were set up in the 1890s. Since 1900, since the railway network was extended, all over the world, railways have come up. So, railway network was extended because railways needed to take the material from one place to another, transportation. Big materials, if large scale material is produced, it should be carried from that place to another. For that, railway is needed. Without railway, if we carry, it is not possible, we cannot carry it. That's important. And foreign investment industry increased. Those who are having money now, we say FDI, foreign direct investment. I hope you know what is FDI. Foreign direct investment means foreign nationals, they can come and start the factories in India. That's a foreign direct investment. Otherwise, they have to join with some other Indian companies and invest. Now government permits any foreign companies to come up and start a factories. They can invest their money and start a factories in it. That is a foreign direct investment. Earlier it was not permitted. Here if you go to 1990s, Bajaj was having a bike. Bajaj was not able to have its own. They have a collaboration with Hero with the Honda company of Japan. Bajaj with the Kawasaki of Japan. Like that companies were, collaborations were. Indian companies were not able to make themselves. Yamaha had a Scott. So like that. Yamaha is a foreign company, not Indian company. So they had come to India and collaborated with Indian companies and joined and made materials in India. Now they are independent, Now there are Hero bikes as well as Honda bikes because they are permitted to have them. So that is it. So like that, each individual, TVS with the Suzuki company. Now Suzuki company bikes are available, TVS company bikes are available. Like that, collaborations. So at that time, FDI was created. Foreign investment in industry increased. Coal production doubled and iron and steel output quadrupled. Means many times iron and steel. That is important. It is to be dug up and it will be converted into material that can be used. So those things, they are important for companies. They are important for factories. That is there only big factories can come up. Otherwise, there is no much use of big factories. That is important that we see in Russia in the beginning of 20th century or by end of 19th century. Industry was the private property of the industrialist. Now in India, it is happening. Earlier we had a collaboration, government, joined sectors. We have an ideology of mixed economy in India. But when we go to their European countries, they don't have mixed economy, they are all private, capitalist economy we call it. So, but in Russia, we can see that we are going to study that they are having socialist economy. That is the fundamental communist economy, socialist economy. So industry was the private property of the industrialist. You know, when a private property is there, the industrialist desire is to make profit. His desire is to make profit. And all the profit that comes, he will put in his pocket. And he may start in another factory. So that is a speciality of a private property. So naturally, industrialist aim is to get profit. Otherwise, he will not invest his money. Government is supervised to ensure minimum wages and limited hours of work. Minimum salary should be paid. We know there is a rule, there are rules and regulations now. Modern period is this. We are thinking about 100 years ago. Okay, but 150 years ago we can say events. So at that time, minimum wages were humble. That is decision was taken by the government. And limited hours of work, we can see how many hours they work. But what they do? But factory inspectors could not prevent rules being broken because the owners of the factory would be more powerful than the inspector who comes to check the factory. And the owners of the factory will have more relationship with the king than the officer who comes to check. So naturally, the owners of the factory will have more power and more control on anything that happens. That is it. In craft units and small working shops, the working time was 15 hours. You see, 15 hours in a day. How many hours you commenced in the class? You think? And if the video is going for more than 1 hour, you don't feel happy to study. And a human tendency is there that we cannot spend much time concentrating on one activity. You see the working hours, 50 hours. Balance 9 hours only for their sleep, food, and home care activities. You see, morning 7 o'clock it starts. We can think at 7 o'clock. Evening 7 o'clock it will become 12 hours only. See, then 7, 8, 9, 10. By 10 o'clock at night only they will be working time will be over. Or they will start at 6 o'clock in the morning. And by 9 o'clock in the evening they will be able to stop. And in factories 10 or 12 hours. So morning 6 o'clock they start, evening 6 o'clock. Minimum in factories. This was the situation. Workers were divided by skill. They had a society. It's accountability to the person. That's now also it is like that. Engineers who is highly skilled persons. Like that, little more skill, less skill, like the jobs are divided according to their abilities and talents to do the work. At that time, traditionally they learned the work. They go to the person who knows the work. apprentice who goes to somebody and learn the work. Metal workers consider themselves as aristocrats among other workers because metal work, doing the metal, turning the metal, because metal work needs so much knowledge, temperature, understanding. If the temperature goes a little more than what is required, the material will be lost. And hitting it and shaping it, fixing it, exact. So those kind of people, they consider themselves a little more higher than any other persons among the working people. Aristocrats means able, talented persons, they consider themselves. Women made about 30% of the factory of labor's force by 1914, but they were paid less than men. That is 3/4, maximum 3/4. That is the situation. 75%. If men get 100 rupees, there was no 100 rupees at that time. Just imagine, if there are men get 100 rupees, ladies will be given only 75 rupees. It is all over the world. It was not only in India now. Everywhere. Right? Now it is different in other countries. All over the world, this was the situation. Okay? So this division of the workers showed themselves in dress and manners too. In the defense forces, according to the dress they wear, the shoulder badges or shoulder things will show that what is his grade. Like that, in the dress styles, factory workers, they will have different kinds of dress. That dress will show that where he is doing what kind of work. That is identification. Not identity card, not holding the identity card. At that time, this was the dress was there. Divisions among the workers showed themselves in dress and manners to how they deal with others. Workers formed associations to help members in times of unemployment or financial hardship, but associations were few. Even there some associations were formed by some group of people to help others, to start factories or to help themselves. Now chambers of commerce, like that, so many organizations are there. Like that, at that time also organizations were there. Workers united to strike when they disagreed with employers. If they disagree with the employing or person who gives employment, they join to construct, then only there is a value. Otherwise there is no value. 10 persons are going to work and 2 persons are sitting and striking, there is no use. The factory will run. If workers should get their due, they must be able to hold the working of the factory. That's it. The strikes took place in textile industry and metal industry during 1897 too. So, along with the working group, there were strikes also. And many strikes were there in textile as well as metal industry. Because textile, so many people are working. If all of them stop the working, textile industry cannot function. So, naturally, the factory owner will listen to the demands of the people. Because all of them stopped working. Some were working, some were not doing, then the strike would not work. In the countryside or village, poor village, in English language we use the word countryside means villages. Villages, peasants cultivated most of the land. Peasants or farmers who are having agriculture, they were doing the lands. But the nobility, the crown and Orthodox Church owned the large, as in the French Revolution you have seen, most of the areas were controlled by the rich people, landlords as well as the church. The same thing was there in the Russian society also. The church authorities and the landlords controlled the property. People had no respect for the nobility. They did not accept. They were unhappy with the nobility. Naturally, because nobles were not dealing friendly with them. So they are unhappy with the nobility. Nobles got power and position not because of their ability and interaction with the society or members of the society. They were given the power by the ruler, sir, going to him and getting them. That was the way they got their influence. Not because of their interaction with the members of society or doing with the members of society. That is what. This was unlike the France where during the. So in France, when the revolution took place, in some places, the landlords were protected by the peasants. That you must understand. They were unhappy, but in some places this happened. But in Russia, as per there is no evidence, all the places the nobles were attacked by the peasants. The landlords were attacked and murdered. That's what you see. In Britain, peasants respected nobles and fought for them. That is in France. But in Russia, things are different. In Russia, peasants wanted the land of nobles and not ready to pay rent, and even murdered landlords in large scale in 1902 to 1905. That is the specialty. Landlords were attacked and killed by the peasants because there was no good relationship between the peasants and the landlords. Heavy rent should be paid. You know, in your villages, if you are a farmer, if you have taken a land from the landlord to do agriculture, 50% of the whatever you produce should be given to the landlord. So you work, do everything, and you get only 50%. So that is the difference. So if the rent is less, if you are to give only 20% to the landowner, you will be rich because you will get 30% more. So that is the demand by the peasants or the landlord, working class people or farmers. Peasants are a group of people who are doing agricultural activity but not having their own land. That's the peasants. So that is why it's good. But even murdered. Russian peasants used to pool their land, and in Russia there's a speciality of it. Another thing is, they bring all the land to they conserve it. And there's a head of the village. He will divide the land to families according to the number of the families or the ability to do work and their necessities. So no individual is having his own land. A land is of the village altogether. So when the land is divided by the headman or the village headman, a group of people, some may get very good land, some may get bad land. So that is every year it is happening. So it is you can say it is a social system. A socialism was really existing in Russia, among the peasant groups. That is speciality of Russia. That we see inside the testimonies when we go inside. Okay, that is speciality. So that system existed in Russia. Okay, thank you very much.